I'm going to work out the steps that we went over in class in this video, so in case you need to review it. All right, so I was explaining how to get a percentile, and you can pick any number you want between 0 and 100. So I just randomly decided on the 43rd percentile. And so in order to do that, I use the Percentile Inc. function. And I put in, if I click up here, you'll see I chose the spending column and I put the percentile in as a decimal, so 0.43. Okay, and then I just said, okay, let's just see what really Excel is doing on the insides, under the hood. So the first thing it's going to be doing is ordering the data from smallest to biggest. So let's see how we do that. We click somewhere in these columns of data, and they are all, each row represents the information from the same person. So we don't want to sort just the column D. It would mess up the information being linked with each other on a row. So we're going to sort this whole A through D. So I just select somewhere over here. I go to the Data tab. In the middle, I go to Sort. I want to make sure that it says my data has headers, so that will enable me to go sort by and choose spending. So I will now go from smallest to largest there. And now this information was also sorted. So now we see the spending sorted. That's the first thing. Now we have to create a position variable. So let's come up here and just type in position. This is just because I want to go through and show you what Excel is doing. So an easy way to do this is to have Excel kind of figure it out for us. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3. You can just start a pattern. Excel's really good at finding that pattern. So we go 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to just double click this little green box, and it's going to know to continue that pattern all the way to the bottom of our values. And we can scroll down and see that that is going all the way down to the last value, and that's that there's 200 values here. So we create a position variable. In the next instance, we're going to get the location by converting the percent, or the position, I should say, by converting the percentile decimal to the proportion of the number of values n. So we have 200, and we want to know when do we hit 43% of the data? So we're going to get that by, we're going to get that position by saying, okay, we're going to say, where is 43% of our total number? So let me actually put that up here, and we'll say 200. And then the position is going to be given by equals the 0.43 times the number of observations. So when do we hit 43% of those observations? And that is at position 86. So now we're going to go down to position 86, find that position, and here is the value for spending at that position. So I'm going to copy that and place that here and get the value. I believe I can just copy it, yes. Okay, now notice this is close, but not exactly the same. And that's because there's many different ways to actually calculate percentiles. And the smaller your data set is, the slightly different they are. What I'm showing you right now is really what it's doing at a kind of a simplistic. I left out a few kind of minor details that are just changing this a little bit because it's going to do things just a little different, but I just wanted to show you that we're very, very close. And the larger our data set is, the closer these two will be. But the one that most statisticians use and feel is theoretically the most accurate is this percentile.inc. And oops. So that's the function I'm recommending that we use if you're going to determine percentiles in Excel. Once we have the data ordered and positions identified, we can also go backwards in a sense, and we can say, okay, so what percentile in the data is a given value? So this is something that comes up a lot with standardized exams of many forms. And so, for example, let's just say the value that we're curious about is like 131.38. So in order to determine the percentile, the first thing we're going to do is one, we want to get the position. So the position, so we find 131.38 in our data and we get the position value, which is 23. So we say that's the 23rd position. And then we're going to determine what proportion of the data is less than this. Than the 23rd position. So the way we're going to do that is kind of like really easy if you think about it, because we can do this in our head, but I kind of want to show you how to program it. So we know that this number 133.98 is at position 23. So how many data values are there below it? Well, 22, right? 23 minus 1. So it's 22 divided by the number of data points in the whole column will give us the proportion of values that are less than the value at the 23rd position. So we want to know what proportion. So we run that and we get 0.11 or 11%, right? So we can go to the Home tab here and we can give this more decimals to see. We don't need a round, so we can actually convert this right away to a percentage. So 11% of the data is less than the number than this 133.98. So we would say that this is the 11th percentile. And I just want to show you that the more programmatic way, and the reason I want to show you this isn't because I want to try to make it harder for you. It's because there are times when you want to program stuff like this, because let's say you have to figure this out for a whole bunch of numbers. So this is sort of part of learning Excel. So notice up here, we're pointing to the 200. That's great, but we hard coded in the 22 because we did math in our head. We said this is 23 minus 1. So what would be better is we replace up here in the formula bar that numerator by the formula that we did in our head. We actually write it out. So I'm going to put the numerator in parentheses so you can see what's in the numerator, and it's going to be whatever the position is minus 1. And I'm not going to overwhelm you with Excel stuff here, but we could actually have, there's a way that we could get Excel to tell us the position without us having manually to look it up. Excel can actually do that. But for right now, I think this is enough of a ramp up on Excel. So at this point, we've just kind of done it by hand as if we had been doing it on paper. We would be doing it this way on Excel. Excel provides a way of doing this as well for us, or close to it. So the function is called percent rank. So it's going to tell us the rank of a value in a data set as a percentage, which is a little more decimals than percentiles. Remember, percentiles are whole numbers between 0 and 100. So we'll just have to round this one. So if we do percent, oops, my bad. I'm going to select, you have to select the data. So I'm going to select the first value in the column, and I'm going to do Shift and Control and the down arrow, or on a Mac, I believe it would be Shift Command and the down arrow, and it will get all your data values for you. I'll show you other ways to getting all the data values other than having to drag, which is a drag when there's that many data values. Okay, so the value that we want to look up is this 131.38, and that is going to give us 0.11, which is giving us the 11th percentile. I believe we can get more decimal. Oh no, it's giving it to us exactly, so that's great. It matched. So that's giving us, so this is the percentage position, if you will, which is what a percentile is. So we see, we get this, and then that tells us that it's the 11th percentile. Okay, so that's some of the things that we can do in Excel to get percentiles, or given a number, figure out what percentile of the data it is.